Hey everyone, it's Mike from the OBDM podcast, and I'm in front of my bookcase. I thought it might be interesting to take a look at some of the books that I read through to get segments for the show. Let's take a look. Alright, starting at the top, here we go, we're going up to the top. On the right hand side, we got a book called Our Band Could Be Your Life. I read this book in 2000, 2001. They're little short stories about indie rock touring bands that go across the United States of America, and they describe what it was like for them to be a band. Fascinating read. If you're into rock and roll and like stories about tour life, yeah, that's the book for you. Then we have Stranger in a Strange Land. That's not my book. That is my wife's book. I have yet to read it. I think it's about a guy from Mars comes to Earth and he does something. Don't really know. Then I have two of my books right there. That's the Star Wars adventure journals. Two of the Star Wars adventure journals for I believe the TSR Star Wars role-playing game, which I was a big player of back in the 90s. I haven't played that game, oh my, probably almost 20 years at this point. Then we have two copies of Fahrenheit 451. One is mine, one is my wife's. Then we have George Orwell, 1984. Then we have, what is that right there? We got Mice and Men and Animal Farm, also by George Orwell. Then we have a couple books over here. These are, the bottom one is the Encyclopedia of Combat Techniques. That's my book. I got that. Got to stay well informed. And then the book above that, How to Stay Alive in the Woods. It has various passages about how to start a fire, how to make a lean-to, critical survival knowledge for the apocalypse if that ever comes. And I guess the Encyclopedia for Combat Techniques would also be very handy in the apocalypse as well. Underneath, or above that, we have the Worst Case Scenario book for survival questions, and that's also mine. I was on this big prepper kick a few years ago. I have, read up on it, got a go bag and all that kind of stuff. I'm still into it, just not as much. And above that book, we have, what is this? The Book of IQ Tests. This was given to me by my wife as a gift. I guess maybe she wanted to test my IQ. See if I was smart enough to marry. Maybe I passed. Okay, the shelf below, it starts off with 40 Years with Fairies. That is not mine, that is my wife's. Then we have Astral Voyages. We have the Lucid Dreaming Pack. It's a book about, lucid dreaming, but also some techniques on how to lucid dream. And then right next to that, we got Healing Crystals and Gemstones. That's my wife's. We got Psychic Intuition. That is mine. That's an idiot's guide to psychic intuition. Then we have Enchantments. Okay, it's hard to read here. Enchantment of the Fairy Realm. That's my wife's, I believe. The Gift of the Shaman. That is my wife's. Then we have a book hidden right here. Oh, this is the Egyptian Postures of Power. This is by Jason Quitt. This guy, he's given a lot of talks about the metaphysical realm. He's done a lot of astral voyages. He's been on George Norris' show, Beyond Belief, quite a few times. He's a good guy to listen to if you want to get into the more spiritual side of life. Then we have a book on spirit guides, Real Magic, by Dean Radin. One of my favorite books that I've read in recent times. This guy does a really good job at dissecting what people think magic is, going back to like medieval times up to present day. He classifies magic, I'm paraphrasing, magic as something is the power of thought to influence the physical life that we live. So it could be prayer, it could be a spell, and he does a good job in the book at documenting some real world scenarios in which it's real, ranging from university studies to some anecdotes. Pretty cool book. I recommend picking it up. Then we have The Awakened Psychic. Haven't read that one yet. But then we have The Empowered Empath. Let me see if I can... It's getting a little hard to read there. The Empowered Empath. We got The 4 Agreements. I don't know what that is. Then we have The Perception of Yoga, right there. Perception of Yoga. Then His Divine Grace. I'm not sure about. I'm not even sure where that book came from. I think it's my wife's. It might be. Then we have a book, Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce on the power of color, stones, and crystals. Edgar Cayce is one of the most prolific psychics that's ever been documented. I recommend looking him up. He's got some pretty cool stuff. Then we have a book right next to that called Real Magic by Dr. Wayne W. Dyer. And then we have the Angel Numbers books. If you guys have ever seen the numbers like 111, 222, 111. So this book has all like the what the numbers mean. If I can focus on this thing, what the numbers mean when you see a specific number and it's part of some sort of synchronicity in your life, you can look up in that book what that number represents for you. And then we have some more religious books over here. I guess there's 2 of them on the bottom. Pardon, I forgot I put these books over here. But we have the PMA Effect, the Positive Mental Attitude Effect, written by John Joseph. He's, I believe, a member of the Cro-Mags, part of the New York hardcore scene. He's been on Joe Rogan. Pretty cool guy. And then above that, Taoism, an Essential Guide. Then the Holy Bible. And then the War of Art. Break through the blocks and win your inner creativity battles. I bought that. I have yet to read the PMA Effect or the art or the War of Art. You know, when you're doing stuff creative, you sometimes get writer's block, and you need some words of encouragement to get past that. So I gotta get to reading both those books. Pardon the zooming and the focusing. I'm using a brand new camera with a manual focusing. So down one more shelf here, we got the Mysterious Creatures from Time Life Books. I just picked this up. I loved it. I love these Time Life books. You know, when I was a kid, I was growing up, you'd see commercials all the time for these Time Life Books presents UFOs and Psychic Mysteries. So I found this in a used bookstore, and I got this one. I'm probably going to get the rest when I get some money and room. Then we have the Goodly spell book. That is mine. I perused through that back when I was on that magic kick. Just fascinated with the subject of magic and manipulating this reality by the power of words. I haven't practiced any magic, but I'm curious about it. Then next to that we have Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I've talked about him a lot on the show. He deals with using your mind, your consciousness to influence your future to get what you want out of this reality. Then we have the Lucifer Principle. I am not sure what is in this. I have yet to read it. It's not mine. And then we have Esoteric Hollywood by Jay Dyer. Jay Dyer, good dude. He's been on the show. He deals with a lot of philosophical and religious topics on his YouTube channel. He also gets into occult symbolism within Hollywood. Good guy to follow and pay attention to. Then we have a book, The Ancient Giants, Who Ruled America. Love this book. I did a big giant segment, maybe last year, 2 years ago, and the subject of giants is absolutely fascinating to me. I recommend people check out that subject and that topic. You can just search for giants on OBDM, YouTube, and it'll come up. I'll probably do another segment coming up pretty soon on that. And then we have a book by, I believe, Charles Fort, the complete book of Charles Fort. Yeah, I just read it. There it is, his name. This guy documented a lot of paranormal and weird, strange events in early America. He was he cataloged a lot of different stuff way before anybody else was, and published it. So that's the complete works. I'm still digging through that to come up with some segments to talk about paranormal activity in the 1800s, maybe even 1700s in America. Then we have the Encounters with Flying Humanoids. I use this book on Monster May to deal with the segments concerning the Witch in Mexico, Mothman, the Owlman of England. Awesome book. This guy, the writer, Gerhard. Let me see if I can focus. Actually, Gerhard does great cryptozoology books. I'm going to pick up the rest of his stuff he's got. Then we have Linda Godfrey's Monsters Among Us. Great book. She touches on just a little bit of everything. A fascinating book. I would love to talk to her at some point in time. Then we have a couple books laying next to it. We have fairies. I have enough books on fairies. I should just devote a whole show on fairies, or a couple shows. We got the Beatles, illustrated lyrics, and then above that, History Decoded. And this is like a History Channel book. I'll open up this because this is kind of a cool book. This was given to me as a present. Let's open this up. So this is sorry guys, focusing. Trying to focus. This book was given to me as a present, and it goes through all these conspiracies and topics related to, like, as you see, George's Guidestones. It's got stuff on Abraham Lincoln, JFK, White House. Where is the cornerstone of democracy? We got the Spear of Destiny, history's most sacred relic. Cool book, very, very well put together. I think it was put out by the History Channel, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, it was put out by the History Channel. Sorry about the focusing. I'm going to fix that at some point. So that takes care of that shelf. Then we got, let's start at the bottom. I'll work my way up. Here we go. So we have the Encyclopedia of Ancient Giants in America, which is different than the other Giants book I have. Then above that we have Authenticating the George Adamski Case. George Adamski is a person that back in the 1950s claimed to have interacted with humanoid-looking aliens, I believe in the Mojave Desert. I talked about that a few months ago on the show. Fascinating case. But this whole book right here is dedicated to just authenticating his claims. And we have Crossing Over with John Edwards. I don't know why we have it, but it was, I believe Big Poppy, a listener, gave that to me. Thank you, Big Poppy. We have Beyond the Seventh Gate, paranormal book. Then we have The Secret King. I believe it's all about like Nazi occultism. We Are Here, Visitors Without a Passport. The Authenticating the George Adamski Case goes right along with this We Are Here book, which is all about humanoid-looking aliens. It goes into cases like the Stranger at the Pentagon, where there was a humanoid-looking alien walking around the Pentagon. He was welcome in giving consulting to military officials. I'll have to delve into that some more. Then we have a book called Nothing in This Book is True, but It's Exactly How Things Are. This is a fascinating book that delves into sacred geometry, the UFO phenomenon, and just the nature of reality in and of itself. I recommend you read it. It was written back in the 90s. I listened to like a book-on-tape version of this in the late 90s. Found it fascinating. There's actually a second book to this that I have started reading. So I'm kind of going back through and reading the initial Nothing in This Book is True, but then I'm going to break out the new one. It's kind of like appended volume 2. Fascinating stuff, though. Then we got, what is that? We have a March 2008 version of Fate Magazine. Yeah. The 2008 version of Fate Magazine, UFOs over Texas. Then we got the Field Guide to Extraterrestrials, and above that, the Field Guide to UFOs. And then we have Confessions of an Economic Hitman. This book is brought up a lot on the No Agenda show. And then above that, we got Extraterrestrial Visitations from Prehistoric Times to Present. And that's a book that I just picked up, got it for like $1, and I need to plow through that. Okay, then let's go down to the other section here. So we have, oh boy, They Never Came Back. This is a book that I'm digging through. It's about people who have gone missing, and it's also about people who've been kidnapped. People who just vanished for one reason or another. Some pretty interesting stories. And then we have Vanishings by Michael Harrison, which I've talked about many times on the show. This book has a lot of very intriguing accounts of people who just vanish, boats that just up and go missing. It goes right along with Missing 411, which we'll get to in a second. Then we have Into Nowhere. Just called Nowhere, a pattern of disappearances in rural America. This is more of hardcore data analysis of the Missing 411 data that David Pelias has put together. So I have my Missing 411 books right here. Missing 411, North America and Beyond. I got North America Law. I got Off the Grid and Devils in the Details. Actually, I need to get the rest of them. I actually gave away my Missing 411 Hunters book to a friend because they are very curious about the subject. And it's like, here, just take my Missing 411 book. Got to get that back. Then we have Eric Von Donigan, Chariots of the Gods, Hunt for Skinwalker Ranch, Humanoid Encounters, Phantoms and Monsters. This is just an account or a book of Bizarre Encounters, like it says in the book. Bizarre Encounters, done by Lon Strickler. This guy hates me. This author hates me. He hates the show. He threatened legal action against me because we are making fun of... We weren't making fun of him. We're just making fun of some of these bizarre accounts that he accumulates. And so we're just kind of making like he seems to have every single account. You know, he's the ground zero for these accounts. I wasn't trying to discredit him or anything. I poke fun at everything. The show pokes fun at everything. I think he's a perfectly fine guy. He puts out great books. He's very detailed. So it wasn't nothing against him. I actually quite like his work. Then we have Humanoid Encounters from 2002 to 2015. There's so many of these Humanoid Encounter books. They're fascinating. They go through like every decade with 5-year chunks at a time. And then we have Mysteries of Georgia's Military Bases, which is an excellent book about, just like what it says, military bases of Georgia, ranging from UFO encounters to poltergeist to Bigfoot encounters at military bases. Pretty cool stuff. And then the bottom shelf is pretty much all my programming books. So I got Secrets of JavaScript. I got Python Networking, Eloquent JavaScript, which this book, it's a little chewed up. This is probably one of my favorite books in how to learn how to program. It's laid out very well. And we have HTML5 in action. Introduction to Data Science. We have Black Hat Python, which is some hacker stuff there. Functional Programming in JavaScript. Agile Metrics. We got Groking Algorithms. So this is the intro to how to write your own algorithms. Effective Python. This is probably one of the better Python books that I've read. It was authored by a guy at Google. If you're into Python and you're probably at your intermediate state, pick this one up. It'll give you some good pointers. Then we have Hitchhiker's Guide to Python. And then we have Real World Machine Learning, Algorithms of the Intelligent Web, which I have yet to read, and then Reader's Guide to Statistics. I got the Cards Against Humanity over here. And then these are all my RPG role-playing game books. And I will be just flat out honest with you. These books... These are not even all of them. This is what I've accumulated since I've probably been 30. I lost my original collection of books, but these books changed my life. These games changed my life. I was so fascinated with the games. The bottom one was Heroes Unlimited. These are pretty much all Palladium role-playing games. I don't have any D&D or stuff like that, but these Palladium role-playing games changed my life because not only were they so... Let me put this down for a second. There we go. So I took out one of the books. So not only were these books fun to play, they had amazing artwork And I love just flipping through the books, looking at the artwork, understanding the system of how you play the game, and then reading about the world. And these RPG, specifically Palladium books, really influenced me to go into art and try to become an artist. And I still consider myself an artist. I just don't do that much drawing anymore. But the world building is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm still into doing that. So I got Rift's Juicers, I got Rift's Federation of Magic, Coalition Wars, Conversion Book, Rift's Mercenaries, Mechanoids, which is a totally different game, but still by Palladium, Rift's Australia, the actual role-playing main book, Coalition Siege, and then I got some magazines up here, which are kind of cool. 100 Greatest Mysteries, and then we got The Search for Alien Life, Who Shaped Our World, both by the History magazine. So, all right, guys, there we go. There is my bookshelf. I'm sure I have some other books like laying around, but that is pretty much it. Probably read half, maybe. No, I probably read 10%. 10%. Well, who am I kidding? With the YouTube comments the way they are, I haven't read anything. I don't read. We all know this, people. Well, hey, thank you very much for checking this out. Talk to you guys next time.